The what? Oh. All right. You good? You good?
I think so.
All right.
Man, listen. You said I ain't had to bring nothing but myself. So
Yeah.
here I am. This is it.
All right. All right, here we go. Do my intro real quick. Chip. Yeah. L. Jaxon 1616. Creator and host of One Mic Stand. 1/3 of Sex with Strangers. Shout out to Seeing Juice. What up? What's going on? Back in Philly. Different outfit. Same apartment. Same sofa. Different guest. Another special one. A super special one, actually. I got my dad on the sofa tonight. I've actually spoken a lot about you because I've spoken a lot about you, my mom, my friends, family, everything like that. But my mom, like I was telling you before, she's been on the show. She listens like faithfully. Like that's kind of her way of kind of sort of talking to me on the phone without talking to me on the phone.
Gotcha.
So she's like always kind of like in the mix somehow. But you and I, we really just kind of like talk about everything like outside of the pod. You ask questions about the pod, we talk about it, but I don't think you're a listener of it. You're just kind of sort of connected as far as like what's the next thing, what's the plan, what's the strategy.
Right.
I
don't know enough about it.
That kind of thing. So this is actually, whether you know it or not, this is going to be special for the people who actually watch and the people who do listen, because a lot of the things that I talk about, I reference my parents a lot. So I know for a fact this is going to be a treat for them. So thank you once, first of all, just for coming on and sitting down and everything like that.
Me.
And so I'm going to go ahead and I guess let you introduce yourself. I don't know if you have any social media or anything like that set up already that you want to give to the people, but at least just tell them who you are.
Yeah, I don't have any social media. I'm old school, as you can probably see. My name is Andre Cook. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. I lived there for about 6 months, and I came to Philadelphia as an infant. My upbringing is here in West Philadelphia. Man, what can I say? I'm glad to be here and see what this is all about. And we talk. We'll talk freely about some stuff. I got a few projects that I'm working on. I mean, most of my career has been helping young people learn, change, and grow, and so that's what I've been doing for a living. Now I'm currently retired, 2 years, and I've done a lot of different things. I've worn a lot of different hats. And hopefully we'll get to highlight some of those things tonight.
Gotcha. So we can start with the retirement. How has it felt, or how does it feel to have worked for so long and then just be retired for not so long? Like how is that adjustment? How's it the transition, the pros and the cons of it?
It's been an adjustment. Just like everything. I mean, when I work with young people, and you included, obviously you got it first. Life is in stages. Just like I remember when you were an infant and when you were a teen, and so and different things happen and you adjust to that. So being retired is tricky. You know what I mean? Because you think of retirement as some old person that can't really do too much. And that's not the case. My mind is still sharp, thank God. My physicality obviously has declined. But one of the things that I've been writing about is a story called Unplanned, because I didn't plan to retire. I didn't have the traditional send-off,
right?
Where you get the balloons and
the watch and the pen and all that,
and the gold watch, and they video recorded, and they got food and stuff, and they talk about how terrible you were the last 30 years. I'm glad to see you go, and bon voyage and all that. So it kind of caught me off guard. I mean, the story. commuting from Philly to New York every day. I did that for over a decade. Like I said, most of my career has been in New York. I started my career 5 years here, and then I moved up to New York and worked 27 years there. And the only reason why I probably stopped was the physical aspect of it. I had to get my hip replaced. I got 2 bad knees, and I was doing a 30-hour weekly commute, and I knew I couldn't do that anymore. When I was out with the hip surgery, I was out for 11 weeks, and when I came back to the job, I knew things were just different. You know what I mean? Everybody was young around me. That was weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm pretty easy to get along with, but sometimes it would have been nice to talk to somebody who has had my life experience, who was around when I was around. You know what I mean? People that can relate to the 70s and the 80s. I started my career in '87, and near the end, the people that I was working with in 1987, they were in high school. So I felt that piece. And then, they ended my position. So that's kind of like how it stopped. I didn't go into the office and say, hey, this is it. I'm not coming back anymore. It was more or less they let me know that the position that I was in, they were going to eliminate. Gotcha. And they didn't offer me any other position. Right. And, younger and cheaper is the way to go a lot of times with companies and organizations. And so I guess I felt I fell in that category. And I also realized at the time I was 57, and looking for jobs is different than when I first started out looking for a job. Now you got to go on the internet and or Indeed, and you got to write an essay and answer 75 questions, and wait for an email for return. And I just didn't think at 57 a place that primarily is about working with young people would want a 57-year-old versus someone that's 27. You know what I mean? Or even 37 for that matter. So and that makes sense because, like I said, I think working with young people, there's a physicality to that. And I didn't have that anymore. I used to coach, and coaching along with teaching and parenting is about demonstration. When you can't demonstrate physically, it impacts you. It doesn't eliminate you, but it does hinder you a little bit. I ran basketball camps all the way to the end, but I tell you, man, at the end of a basketball camp, I was hurting. Back be hurting, knees get all stiff, and it would take me a day or two of doing absolutely nothing just to recover. Yeah. So I knew I just couldn't keep doing it like that. I do what I can. I did a summer camp with little kids, and that didn't require a whole lot of physicality. But even still, working with young people, you need energy, and there's a physical component. In
what capacity did you work with young people? Because I know you said when we talk, you always say like you try not to call yourself an educator. You just try to say that you're a person who works with children. So like what exactly?
Yeah. Well, my career started out working with adjudicated youth. Back then they called them underprivileged kids. Then the phrase went to underserved communities. Then there's a term called at-risk youth. So anything in that column, that's what I started out doing. I was a teacher. They called me a teacher counselor, and I had no experience on teaching anything or counseling anybody with anything. And my perception of what that job would be was not what it actually was. I thought it was just going to be, put a little whistle around. I got excited over the word counselor. I forgot, wear a
like
whistle.
It was a camp.
Yeah,
like
tell the kids to line up,
yeah,
pass out the lunches, and tell them to do good in school. I forgot I could do that.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I was working with young people who had lives. And then when you start getting into the lives of the kids that you're in contact with every day, it starts to take on a different type of meaning. So I went from that to, they call it residential care, where the kids actually live on the campus. They don't live in their homes for various reasons. Some of it is, because they committed some crimes, delinquency, and then that sort of elevated me to working with kids in New York who had a different kind of situation, still residential campus, more family issues, the reasons why they were there, abuse, physical, sexual, some of it. Some of it was just parents just needed more support. And the kid was just kind of running rampant in the streets all the time. So they sent him to some of the places that I worked. And again, I wore a lot of different hats. But the main thing was to kind of help shape them up a little bit, kind of see the world a little bit differently and kind of give them some hope. I didn't know this back then. I wasn't talking like that.
Right.
But ultimately, that's what I was doing. I think back then I was thinking more about doing things that my dad, my coaches, and some teachers and people that I looked up to did with me. And that was to create some structure, some order, get me involved in some activities that would give me confidence, stay in the books, exercise my mind. And I think that's a lot of that was what I tried to do with those young people at that time, given my age and my experience and knowledge, which wasn't that much. Like I said, I had a lot to learn, in terms of working with kids that weren't related to me. But I can't express the reward that I got from it once I started learning and improving and growing and really starting to understand how these situations kind of came to be.
You also, like the times that I've come over and, we just kind of talk and we start off watching TV or just kind of catching up. And then we kind of get into talking about like how a lot of younger, I guess, educators struggle with teaching the kids or dealing with the kids. And that's kind of what made you want to think about starting, like, I guess, your new endeavors. So if you could just kind of talk a little bit about that, what you're doing, what you're trying to create or what you're thinking about starting, and just kind of like how that came about in comparison to maybe younger teachers or educators kind of just like needing a guide or needing some help dealing with the children.
Well, my project is called Let's Build.
Okay.
And I've sort of kind of, I didn't want to tell people what to do because it's hard to do that. So what I tried to create was a collection of my own stories, lessons, and my own observations of my life dedicated to helping young people learn, change, and grow. See, the reason why I don't use the word educator for myself, because I really believe it doesn't really matter what the nuts and bolts of your job is. In other words, you can be a math teacher, you can be someone that's running an after-school program, you can be the football coach, you could be a parent, you could be a grandparent. I believe that there's some fundamentals that go in that fits all of those. And that's kind of like what Let's Build is about. It's very positive. I call it a mentoring instrument because you could take some of my thoughts and some of the tools that I've found to be useful and maybe add it to your repertoire of how you help kids learn, change, and grow. Because no matter what facet you're in, if you're a coach, you want your players to learn, change, and grow. If you're a parent, I'm sure you want your kid to learn, change, and grow. I mean, ultimately, it's about growth.
Right.
So whether you're a math teacher or a parent, some things I think are very, very similar to how to get kids to reach their full potential. And so I don't highlight, again, I'm not a math teacher. I've been in the classroom, right? And I know that in order to be a good math teacher, you probably need to be really good in preparing. You probably have to study a lot. Just like if you're going to be a basketball coach, you have to prepare. You have to be organized. If you have your own children, you have to be quick on your feet because kids are quick.
Right.
And sometimes we plan things and they don't go according to plan, and you can't let the kids see you sweat. I was just telling my wife the other day, I heard some teachers talking about, the pandemic and how they're tired and all that. And I get that. There's been plenty of nights I've been tired. We used to work out after work.
Yeah.
And my mindset was, I'm not going to let you know that I'm tired, but I'm dead tired. You know what I mean? But we got stuff to do. You know what I mean? So you create that type of structure. And I think a lot of working with young people and what Let's Build is about is really looking at yourself and determining who you are and who you need to be in the life of a young person. Because I think teaching, coaching, and parenting probably are some of the most rewarding jobs or assignments that you can have. Parenting being at the top. I mean, I think that, that would be the number one for me is parenting, and I like to see, and I guess I get that from the parents that I've had. A lot of Let's Build is about honoring those that came before me. In other words, how did I learn? I didn't learn. In other words, the way I'm talking now, I didn't talk 30-something years ago when I first walked into a cottage of 65 kids. You know what I mean? My biggest fear was how I was going to remember all their names. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there was a lot I had to learn. And so that's what Let's Build is about, is a positive look at being able to learn more about yourself and learn more about the kids that you're working with, whether it's your own kid, being able to understand the challenges and obstacles that they face and how you can intervene and help them. Or it could be a group of kids that you meet on the field. And I've learned a lot from, like I said, my parents, my coaches, certain professors stick out for me growing up, certain things that I liked about their style and the command of respect that they got not only from me, but from my teammates in a team setting. I look to my dad and my mom a lot because I think working with kids is part of my DNA. I mean, my dad, your grandfather, was that guy on the block in the community that gathered up all the kids on the block and said, "Hey, let's go. We're going down here to join this football team." Right. And then in baseball season, we're going down here to join the baseball team. And my friends, they didn't have fathers, and so that at the time I didn't think was significant. But when I realized what my career turned into, I can look back and say, "Oh, I kind of got that from my dad." Or I wound up saying something to a kid, wound up saying something to you that my dad said to me. We did drills and, the workouts and all that kind of stuff. I got that from him. I got some other stuff that was added on, you know what I mean? But home base is just that, home base. A lot of who I am and what I became was due to my mom and my dad. Yeah. And that's kind of what I go that far back. Because from that you build. Building is to improve, and to improve is to grow. And that's the basis for Let's Build. That's what I want to get out to people, that if you are in a situation, or if you have a job, or if you're in a position to impact a young person, have influence over them, or you are important to them, then that what you should be after is helping them learn, change, and grow. And that's kind of like what it's about.
I got you. How do you think it's gonna affect the adults in that dynamic? Because I know a lot of what you said is primarily targeting bettering the children, but I know that a lot of the actual tutelage is actually going to be targeting the adults who are trying to target the children that they work with. So, like, what, I guess, motivated you to try to put something together that's going to help the adults do better? Like, what made you, like, I guess, focus in on, like what were the adults lacking, I guess, that will make this worthwhile, that will make Let's Build valuable to the adults who are trying to help the children learn and grow?
Well, I wouldn't say the adults are lacking anything. I just think that you never stop improving and you never stop growing. So there's always room for improvement. I think even the best people who work with young people still have room to improve. You're always adding on. I think I learned that from coaching. And I think I told you the story once. You can be 32 and up and feel like, according to the record, that's a perfect season. But I guarantee you, if you're a coach and you've had undefeated seasons, and I've been fortunate enough to have one or two. Some of those games you shouldn't have won, and you won.
Right.
Some of those games you didn't play very well, and you won. Some of those games you made a lot of mistakes, and you won. So to me, that means that even though we were 32-0, we still got a lot to work on. And now we're going to start preparing for the following year. So I don't think it's anything that adults lack. I like to look at it as, here's some things that you can add to your tool bag. If you have the mindset of never stop improving and never stop growing. One of the things that I say in the program is that I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the impact young people have had on my own personal learning, changing, and growing. That's what helping young people is all about. See, everyone that's involved in the learning, changing, and growing process is learning, changing, and growing in the process. So as much as I might want to imagine that I've helped a bunch of kids, it's double of how they've helped me.
Gotcha.
Because my life steadily changed as I became more and more engrossed in helping young people's lives change. There were some things, in other words, in my first year, and I think I told you this story before, in my first year working with young people, I was so into me, you know what I mean? And I had so many of my own personal struggles. I was pretty fortunate to be able to maintain a job working with young people. You know what I mean? There was days I didn't have enough gas to get to work because my finances weren't right because I wasn't managing my money correctly.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so here I am. I'm supposed to be a leader of young men and women, and I'm not even able to lead myself in my everyday life. But at the time, being 25, I didn't think that was important. I think sometimes people go into working, the myth about working with children is that it's fun. It's fun and games. Until you learn that their lives are at stake. Yeah. That's where I took it. Yeah. And some people might say, oh man, it ain't that serious. But it was for me. And so I want to reach out to people who also find it to be serious to them in terms of their quest of trying to help young people. Because, the first two things I always start off with in any type of presentation is that working with children is incredibly hard and it's complex. And there's a lot of, you have to have a lot of hooks on your hat rack, and those hooks have to be developed, and they're developed over time. Like I said, the way I'm talking now, I wasn't talking when I was 25 because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? I was, like I said, worried about whether or not I would have enough gas to get to work. You know what I mean? My biggest concern when I got to work was, would I be able to remember all the kids' names? And at the beginning of my career, working with young people was fun. I was a former athlete, so a lot of stuff I got to do with young people was evolving around sports. I talked to education a lot. I've always been big on education. Because being a black man in America, you have to be educated. And a lot of these kids that find themselves in these kind of situations just don't have enough support. And then I think there are people that want to be supportive but don't know how. And they don't know all the things that kind of go into it. And that's why it's an internal look as you go deeper and deeper into the work. Like I said, I wasn't looking at myself at the beginning. You know what I mean? But by the time I got to my 10th year, whatever, I started to realize that if I'm not leading myself effectively, it's going to impact how I lead young people because they have to be following me, and I got to be showing them how to do things correctly. And how to do it right.
Yeah. When did you realize that this was like maybe your purpose or your gift? Did you realize that like pretty soon or early on, or was that more later on?
I think it kind of grew. It kind of grew slowly. Not to go too far back, but when I was in college, man, I didn't really think about what I was going to be doing for a job. I just kind of figured that if I graduated from college, I could get a job pretty much doing anything, just on the sole basis of having a degree. Because that's how it was at that time.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? A black man with a degree is going to get hired, even if you're hired in a field that's not what you went to school for.
Right.
So I didn't give it much thought. like I said, it was unplanned. I looked in the paper. I saw a teacher counselor. And again, I had the mindset of working with children, probably going to be a lot of fun and game. We'll play games and you blow the whistle when you stop the game, and you do that kind of stuff. And again, I didn't think about it's about these kids' lives and what they're up against. So, like I said, I think at the beginning I did a lot of stuff that I saw my dad do with us. Now I will say this: when I reflect back on it now. As a teen, I was that guy in the neighborhood that played with the little kids that didn't have enough guys. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, there was 3 kids throwing the football around. I could be the guy that be the steady quarterback so that everybody get a turn to go out for a pass and cover and tackle. I was always that guy. Okay. Or if we were playing some kind of wiffle ball baseball game, I would be the pitcher for both teams. You know what I mean? So I guess if you really dissect it, I'm not a psychologist, but you could probably say that I had some of that in me growing up. And then I think I also, in addition to that, I had a soft spot for the kids that got picked on. Early on in life, I was the easy lunch, and I remember my dad teaching me how to box. And once I learned how to box and I got in boxing tournaments, I was no longer the easy lunch anymore. And I think I grew into protecting the kid that got picked on. I looked out after that kid. The kid that never got picked for the game, I'd pick him. And in other words, you play on my side. Right. You know what I mean? And I make sure you get the ball and you get a chance to make some plays. Give an opportunity for you to get a little shine. So I did that as a youngster. Like I said, I was oblivious to what it would really mean later on in life. But when I look back at it now, I was like, yeah, that was probably part of my training that I didn't even know I was receiving. Yeah. As far as once I started working, I probably would say 2-3 years. I kind of started feeling like kids were responding to me how my friends were responding to my pops.
Oh, okay.
So I started to kind of get that sense. And at the beginning, man, I tell you, I was a hard ass. I mean, I was, like I said, I think competition in sports kind of gave me that. I knew the kids were coming from the streets, so I knew, from their perspective, these were tough kids. Yeah. But my situation coming up wasn't no bed of roses either. So experiences that I had in college, pledging, and I wasn't a fight person, but I had a few scuffles. You know what I mean? And I think I had a mindset at that time, being a young man, that I wasn't going to be scared of no kid because of what I had already been through in my own personal life. So that coupled with what I think I'm supposed to be doing here, you know what I'm saying? Once I have enough gas to get to work, you know what I mean? Now let me think about what this job is about. And then I just realized that the kids were just kids, and they needed help. Yeah, and I could do that.
Yeah, one of the things when you said kids are just kids, I always remember I think when you started working in Yonkers, and I was coming up to visit or something like that. I forget if it was one of like the times where it was an entire summer or if maybe it was just for a couple of weeks. But we were like on the campus, and you were kind of like saying, I remember you saying always for one, remember that, I'm kind of like lucky and blessed to have both parents, in my life and have relationships with both of them. But then kind of like in the same breath also saying that like even though these kids may come from different circumstances, like at the end of the day, like, they're still just kids, talk to them, chill with them, play ball with them and stuff like that. And it was kind of ironic because like, I don't think I had ever even really considered like looking at them differently or treating them differently. Like I was kind of just hyped to just be around other people in my age group and being, having places to like play sports and play ball and stuff like that. And but after I kind of learned that they did come from different circumstances than me, like having that knowledge, but then interacting with them and feeling like they really were just like I actually like developed friendships with some of the kids on campus. I just thought that was always just kind of cool, but also like gave me a different perspective growing older to get, I guess, just like be gracious of and mindful of everyone's circumstances may not always be as lucky as yours. But what made you have, like, why was that such an important lesson or something that you felt like you should tell me in terms of, they do come from different circumstances, but at the same time, they're kids just like how you're a kid.
Right. Well, again, I think I have to acknowledge my parents once again for that, because that's what I learned growing up. Again, my friends didn't have fathers, and my dad was tough, and my friends loved him, and my dad would, when you're the coach's son, on teams. If the coach isn't careful, if the dad who is the coach isn't careful, a lot of animosity can develop within the other guys. For me, and so Pops was hard on me, and he didn't cut me no slack, cut me no breaks, and he did the same with all the other guys. I think that's why we became close, because I felt like they were my brothers. And there was no special treatment. You know what I mean?
Like we all hate them.
Yeah. there was no special treatment. And so that was good. And I love the guys that I grew up with. I think one of the things that probably aided me in working with young people is that I had a great childhood. And it's ironic that how I grew up was so opposite of the young people that I work with. But like I said, as I grew into knowing the lives of these young people, these young girls and boys, you kind of feel for them, but not in a sorry way, but more like, man, this a special individual. They're just missing a few pieces, And at that time, mostly it was dads. When I first started, it was like, it was incredible to me. Because I can't imagine growing up without a dad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And most of the kids that I met at my early stage, when you do the paperwork, the background, either doesn't know dad or, dad's unknown. That was one of the things that motivated me with you, because I was determined. I said, my son is not going to not know where I'm at, not know my phone number, not know what I do for a living, not know my address, not be able to get in contact with me, or I don't want my son to be so, oh man, I ain't talked to my dad in 2-3 years, because those are the stories that I was hearing, and these kids were angry, man. These were angry, pissed off kids, that have a hard time listening to someone that's not related to them because the people that are related to them have disappointed them. And they're not in their lives. And now here they are in this place, a campus. You know what I mean? And they got to listen to Mr. Cook tell them what time to get up. And it's time to come eat. And did you do your homework? Let me see it. You're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
My dad don't talk to me like that. So, it's kind of like, well, and that's when you get to think that all children need love. All children need to be believed in. And people that work with children need to have high levels of credibility. And when I do training, I tell people what credibility is. And it's the quality of being trusted and believed in. And most kids don't respond to adults appropriately because the adults' credibility isn't high enough. And if I don't trust you, then I'm not going to do for you. Sometimes it's that simple. I know kids don't actually say that, but that's kind of like what it is. And so what you needed from me structurally, physically, verbally, non-verbally, it's the same thing that Ben needed, or Manny needed, or Saul needed, or Hector needed. You know, I mean, I got kids. You know, the list is long.
Yeah.
And they just wanted somebody to care for them. You know, so I think we all come with challenges. We're all different in some shape, form, or fashion. You know, some of us are tall, some of us are short. Some of us are big, some of us are small. But the one thing that we all have in common is giving it our best effort. And that's what I wanted to teach to you and teach to them. And as human beings, you all are the same. Remember, you're no better than anybody, but you're just as good. And I told you that, and I told them that. You know, so I don't want them to thinking as a coach's son, or now I'm the coach, and them having animosity towards you because maybe in their world or in their minds, you got it better than them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wanted you to see that it is, but it isn't. I know that sounds kind of crazy, you know what I mean? But when you have a dad in your life, it's a difference. People resented me having a dad in my life.
Right.
You know, some people resented that or thought that I was lucky.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for me, I don't see it that way. What do you mean, lucky? No, he's supposed to be in my life. In other words, my dad is helping me. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what dads are for. They help you.
Right.
You know, but sometimes when you're dealing with people who don't have dads, they see that as an unfair advantage. You know, so I wanted to explain that to you that it's an advantage, but don't take it for granted. You know what I mean? Because just because you have that support, it doesn't mean that you're going to outdo one of these kids. Because some of those kids are some real hungry kids. Yeah. And they just looking for, because I tell people this too, a kid is one caring adult away. Just one caring adult. For some kids, it's all it takes. And the kid can really reach their full potential. You know, and I think I just wanted you to be able to see the reality of, these kids are in a tough situation, but they're human beings, and in other words, if you're 15, they're 15 too, and you guys got some things in common. Yeah, you know what I mean, and you don't have to flaunt your difference or what you may perceive to be an advantage, because there really is no advantage, because at the end of the day, it's about the choices that you make. You know what I mean? I always tell parents that we're not responsible for our kids' results. I'm not responsible for your results. You know, I'm responsible for what I've exposed you to. What I tell you what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad. Because at some point you're going to be on your own and you're going to make your own choices. Yeah. Hopefully those choices will be linked to some of the stuff that we talked about, some of the things that I exposed you to. And you'll make a good decision based on what you think you need for yourself. But I'm not responsible for the results of you. You know what I mean? And I always believe that, even with the kids that I work with. I'm not responsible for their results. I'm responsible for what I'm exposing them to. And what I try to expose them to is what's right. Doing it the right way and doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And just doing it to the best of your ability. And I think that's good enough for any parent, any teacher, any coach, any mentor, any counselor. Going back to what I said earlier, it doesn't matter the capacity. You could be the dean. You know, and if you're the dean, you should have the courage to tell the kids the right thing to do, and see to it that they do it that way. And I think if you want to say lacking, I don't like to use that word, but I think sometimes adults don't realize that that's their responsibility, because it takes courage to tell you to do the right thing, because you might not like what I'm about to tell you. Yeah. So I got to have the courage to do that. Because I know in the end, the reward is that you're going to appreciate it. Because I exposed you to what was right. You may still do wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I guarantee you in the back of your mind, you're going to say, damn, that was wrong. Yeah. And I know it. Yeah. And I know when I see Mr. Cook, or Cook, as what they called me back then, he's going to have something to say about it. Because it is about correction. You know, working with young people, working with children is about guidance, correction, and inspiration. Those are the things that I did best. I was good at correcting young people and guiding them. That's telling you what to do right. And then try to inspire you by letting you know that you're capable of doing it if you put your mind to it. But I can't make you do it.
Right.
I tell staff all the time, you can't make a kid do nothing,
Right.
but you can expose them to options. In other words, this option will give you this outcome. This option will give you that outcome. Which one you think is going to work best for you?
How important was sports to you, to your evolvement, I guess, to your growth just as a person? And then also, how important do you think sports is being used as a tool to raise a kid, to motivate a kid, to when I talk about you guys, when I talk about mom and dad in relation to like baseball, I don't know if it was something that you guys planned, or I don't know if it just turned out to where I always say that I feel like once it was understood between all three of us that being a professional baseball player was what I wanted to do, I felt like that information was now used as like a tool to not really coerce, but to kind of like motivate me to stay on the right track with everything else in life. You know what I mean? Because it was like, it was known that, okay, this is what he really loves. This is what he really wants to do. So it would probably be the best thing to be like, to motivate him to do well in school, to motivate him to make the right choices outside of school, to motivate him to not do drugs, to motivate him to not have any children or anything like that, because it might derail his number one aspiration of wanting to play ball. So like how, because I know you, because obviously you coached me, you know what I'm saying? You coached the kids and everything. You played. So just kind of talk about the impact that sports has in grooming, I guess, young people.
Well, I think sports is a great vehicle for human development. I come from that. Again, I think, and I make this point in the Let's Build project. One's background is critical because your background is going to impact your unique way of interacting with young people. We all have our unique way. You can say something to a kid. I can say something to a kid. This young lady can say something to a kid. We can use the exact same words, and the kid will get 3 different interpretations of what we're asking them to do.
Right.
Okay? Because the way you say it is probably going to be different than how I say it, even though we're saying the exact same thing. Your body language and facial expressions may look totally different than her body language and facial expressions and tone. So all that comes into play. Where do we get that? We get that from our background. So one of the things that I like to tell people is you have to be aware of your background, because that's where your values and your beliefs and your attitudes get shaped. You know, when you start thinking about your attitude towards something, where does that come from? Probably somewhere in your background. Like sports. Sports is an attitude and belief that I have because of my background. Yeah. And what it did for me outside of the arena. You know, sports for me is just a good tool to teach character, because when you're in a sports-like environment, you're probably in a team setting. If you're in a team setting, you're going to learn about sacrifice. You're going to learn about hard work. You're going to learn about enthusiasm. You're going to practice skill development. You're going to be developed in a lot of different ways. You're going to have a lot of different coaches. Some coaches are going to be yellers and screamers. Some coaches are going to be real passive. Some coaches are going to be very analytical.
What was the coach you had? Boone or something like that? That you all talking to me about the summer?
Oh, Coach Boyd.
Boyd.
Yeah, Coach Boyd. Oh man, yeah, Coach Boyd was something, man. God bless him. He was something. He was a tough cookie. But I tell you what I got from Coach Boyd was conditioning. Because when I played for Coach Boyd, I was in the best shape of my life. I was in the best shape. I ran so much, I was in the best shape of my life. Yeah. And I took some of that into my own coaching. In other words, people before me have their fingerprints on me in terms of how I tried to be with you. You know, those fingerprints, some of that was Coach Boyd. In other words, when we dumped the balls, instead of hitting you, because I grew up, Dad had 2-3 balls. That was it. Where'd I get the bag of balls from? College.
Yeah.
Because that's how we got ground balls. We didn't get one ground ball to third. Nah. Coach Boyd, listen, Coach Boyd was a workhorse.
Yeah.
And he taught me that.
Yeah.
He said it. He never got tired.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, Coach, you'll never get tired? Come on, well, really? But that was such a mind game. And when you coach and when you work with young people, there's psychology involved. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, sports played a big part in my development of those types of skills. Solidarity, commitment. You know, in sports, there's a level of commitment that you have to have. And then when we go outside the sports arena, that doesn't really change for me. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean by the hat wearing. You know, if you really want to be good at something, and I tell you this all the time, you're going to work your ass off. You need to love working your ass off, right? You need to love it. Like, man, I love it. I love doing this, even though it's killing me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like going to the gym.
Yeah.
I'm killing my arms today. Why? Because I love it.
Yeah.
And I know what it's going to do. And I know the reward in the end. You know what I mean? There's going to be a level of cooperation that you have to have, a level of devotion that you'll have to have. You'll have to be determined, right? You got to learn how to lose. You got to be able to appreciate how to win. Mm-hmm. You know, so if there's a lot of things that happen in sports that I could relate to that happen in life. And that's why I think I embraced it so much. And again, it's passed down. It was passed down to me. I passed it down to you. I was watching, I was thinking of Dad, April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day. Mm-hmm. And they had the story on. And it just hit me. And this is real. This ain't got nothing to do with the mics and all. This is real. Mm-hmm. It hit me where Dad got his model from. He got his model from Jackie Robinson. Football, baseball, basketball, track, a scholar. That's what I was. Mine is the track. Your mom had the track.
Yeah.
But now I see that that's what his model was. He wanted me to be like a Jackie Robinson. Yeah. And his dad didn't do that for him. So he must have saw that opportunity to do that for me. And I enjoyed the combination of being athletic and being able to hold my own intellectually. I embraced that. Right. And I think that's what I tried to ride that with you and all the other kids that I came in contact with. You know what I mean? Because mostly, and particularly boys fall in love with sports, but they don't want to do nothing else. Right. You know what I mean? They don't do no homework. They don't want to study. They don't want to read. Right. You know what I mean? So how do you get them to do that? You need a model. So I didn't have a model when I first started working with young people. I didn't know what I was going on. I have a model now. Mm-hmm. And for a while, I didn't think Dad had a model until it clicked the other day. I'll be 60 in a couple months and just clicked. Yeah. That's what I mean by never stop improving. I'm still growing. And it realized that's the model that he used. Now all the stuff that he did, I realized why we did it. You know what I mean? Because it's a special kind of program. We're doing it different. I remember growing up in the neighborhood, my dad didn't let me wear my hat backwards. He didn't let me wear my hat to the side. Mm-hmm. I had to wear like the professional ball players wore. Because his thing was like, if that's something that you want to be, then let's start looking like that. So he was big on how you appeared and how you carried yourself. He would always have me listen to Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali and how they spoke, how they articulated. That was important to him. That you know how to articulate, that you know, So I bought that. Yeah. I used that for myself. That's what I wanted for you. Whatever sport you played. Because I knew at one point in your life, you're not going to play sports. Yeah. And you'll have to use your mind. That's my dad talking. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I bought into it. And so I think sports just helps. I think when you're working with young people, you try to find the thing that serves as a vehicle that get them to those other stops that might be a little rougher spots for a kid. Like I said, a lot of times boys get into sports, they play basketball 24/7 if you let them. Mm-hmm. But hey, man, there's more to life than that. And I have to introduce you to that. I got to expose you to that. I got to expose you that you got to be sharp up here, man, because you might encounter some cats that try to play on your head. And if you don't know what they're talking about because you can't hang intellectually, you know, they'll job you. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think, and then my heroes, you know, the Muhammad Ali's, you know, guys like that, man, they were fearless, fighters, competitors, smart. And that's what I wanted to be. And that's what I wanted to be a part of. People in my program, because raising a kid is a program. No, you was under a program. You talk about like, was that the plan? Yeah, yes, and no. Because see, for me, I didn't know what sport you would gravitate towards. That's why I wanted to expose you to all of them. You'll pick. I can't pick for you. You know what I mean? You'll pick which one, and then whichever one you pick, that's the one we go after it. Let's get it in. You want to be a baseball player? Okay, let's go. I'll show you what I know about it.
Yeah.
Even if you wanted to be a basketball or be a football player. Like I said, if my dad taught me that if there's stuff that you don't know, you can go find out and learn it. That's what I learned about coaching basketball. Because I had to read, I had to study. But that was one of the things that wasn't a problem for me because I was brought up on that. You know, like young people today, they don't study because things happen so quickly now. You know what I mean? Be the GOAT by the end of the week. It's Tuesday. Hey man, I got a program. You can be the GOAT by Friday. No, you can't. Right. You know what I mean? Or I want to be at the top of my you know, the industry. I just started last week. You're not gonna be at the top.
Right.
You got to study. You got to learn. You got to work. And those are the things that I think sports gave me to give to you. And you're not in sports now, but you have some of those qualities and some of those values in what you're doing. Because you know deep down inside that if you really want this thing to jump off, you're gonna work your ass off.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some. You're gonna get some disappointments.
Yeah.
You're gonna break your leg.
Yeah.
I remember playing football, and I was about to take off, and I broke my ankle, and I was mad. I was bitter. You know what I mean? Because I thought that was my time. But those are training lessons as you grow. Because you gotta, you know, like my man said the other day, you gotta have life receipts, and that's what sports I think gives you. Because in sports, it's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And those are there are lessons in there that you're not gonna learn in college. There's lessons in the heat of the moment when you compete, because you got to learn how to compete. It doesn't have to be sports. You can be in radio. You can be a model. You got to compete though, because there's other people that want to do that too. Yeah, man. I remember having a kid once said he wanted to drop out of school and start making clothes. I said, man, that's all fine and dandy. I said, but what about the people that want to make clothes that's getting the certificates and like they still in school? In other words, you ain't even out of high school yet. Yeah. You know, you have to think about that. Where do you stand on the level of competition? Because there's going to be competition. You're not the only one that want to make clothes. Right. So I think that's what sports kind of teaches you. It gives you a rounding of what life is getting ready to throw at you. And I think for you, how you approach things and you can be fearless. Because you can, it's like, and this may sound crazy, like in interviews when I was a young man, I would never be intimidated by an interview. Because you know what I would think about? I would think about some competition that I had that was way tougher than talking to 4 or 5 old guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? In other words, if I'm just coming off the field, I feel like I'm not scared of anything. That's how I started working with kids. A lot of people that I've worked with that work with children are scared of their children. Like I said, the courage to tell them to do the right thing. You can't be scared. 2 things I know working with young people. You can't be scared of them, and you can't feel sorry for them. Because you got to give them truth serum. I used to tell kids one time, kids used to duck me, and when I catch them, I say, hey man, you know why you ducking me? Because I represent the truth. That's what I would tell them, because I represent the truth. Because I'm gonna tell you how it is, and I don't care how you react to it. You can suck your teeth, and you can do all. Yeah, man, you can do all that. Yeah. Because that's the best you can have. Yeah. And when you get done doing that, I'm still gonna hit you with what you need to be doing. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about that, because you know I'm right. Right. You know, in that regard, and that comes from athletics. Believe it or not. Yeah. Because I can recall some dudes was eating my lunch in a sport. Yeah. And I'm getting beat up. This ain't nothing but a conversation. So what do I need to be scared of? You know what I mean? You stand on the table, man, you can't be standing on the table. Get your butt down off the table. You know what I mean? I would say it differently, but still, I'm not scared to say it. And that came from being competitive. Being competitive comes from being in athletics. And I knew that if it made me somewhat of who I was before you were born, that introduction would do you well. But it goes back to exposure. I wanted to expose you to that. I wanted to expose you to competition. I wanted to expose you to what hard work is. I want to expose you to what it takes to really be good at something. What it's really going to take in here and in here.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a model. I went on what was taught to me. As I grew, I developed more of a model. Now the stuff I do actually has pinpoint accuracy. It's like being a sniper versus just spraying the whole room.
Right.
You know, when I first started, I was just spraying the whole room, shooting everybody. You know, but as you grow and you learn, you become more of a sniper, and you're more pinpoint with your shots, and you're not using as many bullets. You know what I mean? You know what your target is, and then you aim for it. You breathe. You're nice and relaxed. You squeeze, and then boom. And then you pack up and you move on to the next hit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, but that takes time. You know, one of the things I had to learn too in working with young staff is that I can't teach them everything that it took me 30-something years to learn in a session.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what that teaches me is I have to be patient with the body of work that I've acquired over the years. You know, but that sports thing, yeah, that plays big even today. You know, because today I sound more like a coach, which really is just another word for team building. You know, and I've learned so much from it, and I just assume that you would get those lessons that have nothing to do with sports the same way that I did. You know what I mean? When you reflect back on your life, sports is a big shaping of that.
Yeah, for sure. I was speaking of sports, right? I was watching this. I don't know if you watched it's a podcast called I Am Athlete with Brandon Marshall and
I did check that once. The one guy was talking about some money stuff one time.
Yeah, that's a really good show.
Yeah.
But this one episode, I don't know if it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, but they were talking about how the one guy who was talking about it, he has children, and he was talking about how when he goes to his kids' games, he's like observing all of the other parents like yelling and screaming and just being like super invested, but like in a demonstrative type of way in like their child's like success or failures like on the field. But he's like, and it reminded me of us because he was like, he's the parent who just go to the game, chill, don't say nothing, you know, because he knows how hard they worked before they even got to the game part or whatever. And like I said, it reminded me of us because I can remember, you know, back in like high school, when, you know, you would fly to St. Louis and come to the games, and you have on like some all black and some shades, and people would be like, "Yo, who is Morpheus in the stands and the bleachers and stuff like that? He look like an assassin out there,
right."
You know." But like just not saying anything or whatever. And then I even remember when I got in the pro ball, and it was parents out there. I don't know if it was when you guys were there or not, or if this was just a story that I was telling you about. But one of the kids on the team, like before his at bats, like his dad was like literally like talking to him like through the fence.
Yeah, come over. Like,
let
me tell you what you need to do.
You know, and I mean, and at this time, you know, we like 22, 23, 24. Right. You know, we grown at this point, and it was just, you could tell, like the player, he was like visibly like upset, like, Dad, like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, just like let me play, you know, by now. And I guess I say that to say that I just wanted to kind of ask you about like what gave you that level of comfortability as far as to, or confidence in the work that we put in off the field, to not be anxious or not have anxiety or not to like be so uptight about what I was gonna do in the actual game or whatever, or was it one of those things where it's just like, you know, the game is like maybe you were feeling like I just had to have my own successes and own failures, and just that's not something that you can control, so you're just there to watch, you're just a fan. Like, what's the mindset behind someone who's a parent working behind the scenes in practice versus then just going to the game and being just a fan, as opposed to trying to be like an extra coach, even though you're not the coach of the team type of thing?
Well, yeah, I think you hit it on the head when you say, you know, in the background. I didn't know this at the time, but I know it now. Practices are for the coaches. Games are for the players. And so I was doing that before I actually knew what that meant. But I also knew this. I knew that you had special gifts, that you were talented in baseball. I saw that right away. And you love to work. You know, when I look at the difference between working with the kids that my career was around and working with you, you're coachable. I mean, you were coachable. I enjoyed the workouts, and that was my time. You know, the workouts. And if we do the workouts right, and you're fundamentally sound, when the game comes, that's when it's time for me to see the impact of the workout.
Right.
And so I didn't see games as time to give you advice. We should have already talked about that. You know what I'm saying? Now's not the time to put stuff in your head to think about what you need to be doing when you're at the plate.
Yeah.
And I think my style was to be not heard, because that's your time. And that's kind of like what I believe. That's your time. I'm pulling for you inside, and I think at that time I wanted people to realize that they'll see that, hey man, that must be his dad up there. And what I wanted them to say, based on your play, is that's where he's getting his work from. You know what I mean? And then let the talent speak for the talent. In other words, I don't have to speak for the talent. It ain't my talent. The talent will speak for the talent.
Right.
You know, I use this analogy sometimes. I call it the cake story. The success is in the back of the kitchen. People come for the cakes in the window. Ooh, man, and then they go in and they taste it and all that, blah, blah, blah. But the real work for me is the bowl with the flour and the eggshells all over the place. In other words, you don't see that when you go into the bakery.
Yeah.
You don't see the back.
Yeah.
But that's where the work is.
Yeah.
And for me, what I learned is that's where the success is. Success to me is unseen. So see, when you got to the game, that was just a byproduct of all the time that we put in. Whether it was late at night under the lights, or going to two different, all these different fields and trying a field that was big enough for you.
Yeah.
A field that we could get some work in. Sometimes we just had to make a field, a baseball field, because it was just a field.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's when I'm yelling and screaming and sweating and running and jumping and all that, because that's when you're supposed to do it. Like I said, the game, the people didn't come see me. They came to see you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you hit one out the park, absolutely, good job. But to a certain degree, that it's almost like, but that's what we expect you to do. I got that from Mom. I never forget, she had bought me a glove, and I broke the glove in, and something, I don't even remember what level it was. Oh, it was down in Southern, and I had earned a scholarship. And I'm happy. I'm down. Yeah, I got a scholarship. And you know what her response was? She was like, well, I guess so. All that money and stuff, all that money I done spent on all that equipment, all them gloves and bats, and I think that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
In other words, yeah, that's good. That's good. You made the team and this, that, and whatever. But understand what goes on in the back of the bakery.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the people are happy to see you because you're the cake that's now presented in the window, and it's a great looking cake. You know what I mean? But the real work was done when I was spending that money buying them gloves and cleats and bats and taking you to this place and the gas to go to this place. And that's what it's all about. And I just think at that moment, like I said, the game is about you. It's about the players. It's not about the parents. And if you're coaching it right, I also learned if you're coaching it right, it ain't about the coach. I enjoy getting to the point coaching basketball where I could sit.
Yeah.
And let the game and let the guys play.
Yeah, yeah.
Because my speech to them before a game is if we do everything that we've practiced and we do it to the best of our ability, we'll be satisfied with the outcome. Win or lose. You know what I mean? And now that's a model. So I didn't have that model when I first started working with young people. I'd be just as aggravated and frustrated and antsy and itchy as the next person. But as I mature professionally and personally, I realize that what's most important is how you prepare them. And if you do it to the best of your ability, you'll be satisfied with the outcomes.
How long? Because that's honestly that's like a speech that I'm continuously having to like tell myself, even now at 36, because I've spoken about what I'm doing now with the video stuff, podcast and stuff. This is kind of like my baseball after baseball, so to speak. And I feel like I'm doing all of the work like in the back, in the back of the kitchen and stuff like that. And a big part of me wants the byproducts. A big part of me wants the results. A big part of me sometimes, I get discouraged and get down when I don't feel like I'm getting the results that the work being done in the back should warrant. You know what I mean? And sometimes it might even just be on a weekly basis where I gotta have to like really tell myself like it's about the work. Just focus on the effort. Focus on doing the work. Focus on the preparation and stuff like that. But it is really difficult to put the work in and not necessarily put your definition of success on the result, as opposed to just saying, hey, I'm successful because I put 100% of my effort into making this be a success, whether the people say that it is or not.
There you go. Now we're getting there.
But that's something that's something that I'm still like battling.
Yeah.
Or still like
it's tough.
It's conflicting.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because you just said it when you look at the comparisons. And see, one thing that I admit for myself is once I adopted this model of success, to me meaning giving your total effort to being the best that you're capable of being. Once I adopted that, I stopped worrying about where I ranked and what I was compared to. See, it's about what you have control over. You don't have control over the comparisons. You don't have control over the rankings. And it's a different grading system that I like to use that brings peace. And that's what I'm always after. In other words, when I lay my head down tonight, I want to be at peace that I did the best that I could, whatever endeavor that I'm involved in.
Right.
Because you can't do more than your best. But when you start bringing other people in, well, so-and-so is doing this, and man, they making this, and they on this label, and they on this, and they got this brand, and this platform is growing, and man, they working harder than me. What's the deal? That 5-second rant that I just had is 5 seconds that I could be using to just better what it is that I'm good at. You know what I mean? But it's difficult because most people place value in the result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you play bad and win. Sometimes you play good and lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end, did you do all that you could do? If I answer yes to that, I got to hold my head up.
Right.
Because I couldn't have done any better.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's funny you mentioned that because I was just reflecting on it the other day when I was sitting, when we lost the first championship game, and I remember going to the room, I was disappointed because I felt like we had done a lot. And I remember your grandmother, my mom, came in and she sat down on the bed beside me to comfort me. And at that moment, I asked myself quietly, I said, did I do everything that I possibly could do? And the answer was yes. And then my disappointing season or coaching or whatever, it shifted. Because at that moment, I realized I couldn't have done any more. Mm-hmm. Now, was there more to do? Yes. After that game, I realized that we got to get stronger. We got to get in the weight room. But outside of that, I really didn't have anything else that we needed to do more of.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So now, back to the lab.
Right.
We got to get stronger. We got to get some weights up in here. Because we almost won that game.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a few things happened. And so so that started to shift to me in terms of let's just give it our best effort. And that's what's going to bring peace of mind for me. I'm only disappointed when I know that I didn't do my very best. And I just believe that when you go after something, you study, you learn as much as you can, you do your research, you compete, right? And you go to bed every night saying, I did all I could do today. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. To me, it wakes you up in the morning. I'm not worried about what the other guys do. I ain't worried about the other teams. When I first started coaching, I was reading the paper. After every game, I was reading the paper on how we did. I was reading the paper on how the other teams played against each other and what they did and who was their main guy and how they scored. They had a guy that scored 27. And they go, we got to stop them. And so now all my coaching centered around that type of information, which was like, no. And the transformation, kid, was I went from that to I didn't know what the other team had.
Right.
I know what we got.
Right.
I don't have to stop them. They got to figure out how they're going to stop us.
Right.
And that's a shift. And if you say, well, where'd you get that confidence? The lab. That's why I say the lab is the success. You don't control whether or not you're going to make it big or not. That ain't within your control. Hey, man, I thought I was going to be coaching forever. I thought I'd still be up there coaching. They closing the place down. Because I didn't have control over that. What I had control over was being the best that I could be in that given time. And that's what I did. You talk about how does it feel to be retired. When I first retired, I was reflecting so much on what I missed, what I didn't do, what I could have did, or maybe I should have did more of this. And I had to check myself and go back to my model. And all you had to do is, did you do your best? You know, when I ask you, you tell me, you did this. I hit you with, did you do your best?
Yeah,
when you say yes, hey, man, that's success.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's success.
Yeah.
Because that's the part that you control.
Yeah. Yeah.
I control the effort that I give. I don't really control much else. Just my effort. And and I'm satisfied with that. Like I said, because you can't do more than that. So whatever you're wrestling with, ask yourself, is it something that's under your control? Because if it's not, let it go and spend more time with the things that are under your control. Like your effort, like your focus, like your preparation, like your organization, like your energy, like your attitude. That's what I tell kids that are angry. Hey, man, you can change that. I get why you're angry. See, that's another thing that I would suggest people who help young people understand where they're coming from. I don't know anything about what you do. I did a little research on it. I had to. You know what I mean? Because I kind of want to know what your challenges are, what your obstacles are, so that I can have an appreciation for what you're trying to do. But in the end, just do your best. It sounds so simple.
Right.
Right? It sounds so simple. But because we're so caught up on the results, that's what makes it complicated.
Right.
Because I'm saying, damn, I am doing my best, but I'm not coach of the year. I'm not this. I didn't get this reward. I ain't got no plaques. You walk to my office, ain't no plaques. I don't have no teacher of the year, no staff of the year, no this of the year, no that. I don't have any of that. What I got is numbers in my phone. What I got is a kid that's not related to me want me to go to his wedding. What I have is a girl who's not related to me want me to sit in on a child's meeting. That's the reward for doing your best. It's not. I don't. Well, how many kids? Hey man, I don't control that.
Yeah.
Well, what's your rank at? I don't control that.
Yeah.
And the same with you. You don't control where you rank. You don't control the standards. You don't control the score. But then again, you're not evaluated by that. I'm not. I'm not going to be evaluated by the score. Yeah, we lost, man, but we did the best we could. You know, when I coached baseball up there, those guys, we didn't win a game. We didn't win a game, man. We was 0-18.
Yeah.
I ain't afraid. We were 0-18.
Yeah.
That was one of the best times of my life. Yeah. Why? Because we did the best that we could. We were in over our heads from the beginning.
Yeah. I remember dudes was like wearing like jeans and stuff.
Right. Sweaters. When you wearing a sweater, man, wear your uniform. We ain't even got hats. We're playing against guys who's getting ready to go to college next year.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But I didn't hold my head down. I talk about it. You would think, based on people's traditional grading system, why would you bring that 0-18? You must suck. Ah, man, we did the best that we could. I was out there every day. My coaching intensity was no different than when you and I worked out. If there was 5 kids at practice, I worked them.
Yeah,
I got the bag of balls.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I got the bag. I got the Funko, and we out there. We on a small field sometimes. We on a little league field. Sometimes a softball field. But those kids knew. Say, hey man, Cook said it was practice day. You better be there. When it rained, we was in the gym hitting off the tee, soft toss. In other words, I put all my baseball acumen to the test. We just weren't talented enough. We didn't have enough experience. But that's all right. Those kids had balls, man, to suit up in their sweaters and sneakers and go out there and play against a team who had some kids getting ready to go that would be playing college baseball next year.
Right.
Salute to them. They motivated me.
Right.
In other words, when the 5 kids showed up, I was motivated.
Yeah.
Just like when you and I would go after work. When we went to the field after work under the lights, I would be excited.
Yeah.
If you talk about the feeling, I would be excited. That was my excitement.
Yeah.
Not watching you hit one out. Watch you hit one out, I was like, yeah, I know why.
Yeah.
I know why you hit that out. You know what I'm saying? I'm the first guy he faced ever in his life. I'm the first pitcher you ever faced.
Yeah.
The fans don't need to know that. That's between you and I. That's our special time. Now when you go to play and I'm sitting in the stands, that's your time. They watching you at the plate. They ain't watching me. They don't see you miss a ball and then look up at me.
Right.
Or you hit the ball out and they look up at me. No.
Right.
Because at that moment, it's not about me. But the lab work, that's where the success is, kid. It's in the lab. You putting it in work in the lab, you are successful. If you're looking for success to be determined by somebody else's grading, then you might not see yourself as a success. And that's what it basically boils down to. Whose grading system are you going to use? And it's tough because most people use the grading system that's traditional.
Yeah.
You got an A, you must be really smart.
Yeah.
You got a B, you're a good student. You got a C, well, I guess you're just average.
Yeah.
Maybe a C is the best I can do. Let's praise that. Sometimes that's where parents come up short. Because, hey, man, as a parent, I want you to be an A student, right? I mean, hey, why not be at the top? Why not be the best baseball player in the world? Okay, that's what I want. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to... I don't have control over that, though.
Yeah.
So what do I have control over? Hey, man, I can expose him to what I think is right to the best of my ability. Will I make some mistakes? Yep, I will. I'll get some things wrong. But that's okay. Because it'll be in the like it'd be in the light of doing my best. And I'd rather try something, even if it's wrong. Because you want to say, well, man, yeah, man, I did that. It just happened to be wrong. Like, when I reflect back on us, sometimes I think I should have just let you go off to school wherever you wanted to go. Instead of saying, no, let's go here. But, at that time, my paranoia of my background kicked in. Playing on all-white teams. Being in an all-white school, in my mind, I said, I don't know if he'll get the best shot.
Yeah.
Had that to do over again, probably would have had more of a conversation about it with you. I was so surprised that you didn't get a scholarship. That's why I didn't think I had to worry about it. But when that didn't come, I was like, well, his best chance is probably going to be able to play in a situation where there's more guys that look like him on the team. Because I know what it's like to be the only black on the team.
Yeah.
And that's iffy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that can go either way.
Yeah.
But as far as the success piece in what you're doing, I would only hold my head down, man, if you know deep down inside you're not doing the best that you can do. If you're doing that though, I would say you're a success already. A lot of us are successes already. But because we look at the grading system based on what other people say. Just like, with the Let's Build thing and the podcast, like I'm hesitant because I'm not in it for likes and dislikes. I don't really care if there's a whole bunch of likes. Hey man, if I can help one person, I believe my joint is so good that if one person can get something from it, that to me is a victory.
Right.
But I don't control that. What I control is what I put out.
Right.
And that's what you control. What you control is what you put out and what you put into it in order for it to get out. And then after that, sleep like a baby. You know what I mean? Ain't no need staying up all night worried about whether or not there's going to be a bunch of likes when you wake up.
Right.
Because you don't control that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when, like I said, when you lose, you go back to the lab. Okay, well, what I got to get better at? Hey, man, we got to get stronger. Okay, let's fix that. We got stronger. Came back the next year, won championship. Came back the following year, won championship. I got the code now. I got the formula.
Right.
And then what happens? Place let me go. Yeah, that's what happened. I don't have control over that. We didn't share the same values. So I get it. It wasn't personal. It was just whatever. I had my thoughts on it, and they had their thoughts on it. But at the end of the day, as far as my coaching goes, I saw the growth. And I didn't really start to grow until I adopted the model of what success really is that peace of mind and knowing and having the satisfaction of giving it my best effort to be the best that I can be. Because, I sit here today, I ain't no basketball coach. Man. I had a nice little run. I did my work. I studied. I learned as much as I could, and I learned from the people who did it the best. That would be another thing that I would add to anybody that's trying to help. Hey man, who's the best out here? What do they do? How they get it going? Because you can learn from anybody. Sometimes you learn what not to do, but you can learn from anybody. And I became a good basketball coach once I started learning from the greats. But you know what I also discovered as I was learning from the greats? That at the end of the day, I got to be myself. I learned a lot from Coach Wooden. I learned from Pat Riley. I learned from Phil Jackson. I learned from Lenny Wilkins. I learned from my man Bobby Knight, Dean Smith. I read all the guys that won. But I also had to learn in that transition that I couldn't be those guys. I could read all the Coach Wooden I want, but I can't be Coach Wooden because he's Coach Wooden.
Right.
I got to be Coach Cook.
Right.
And so I put my flavor, stole some stuff from them, this person, that person, this person, mixed it up in a bowl. I'm in the back. Mix it up in the bowl. Mix it up in the bowl, baby. And I said, hey, man, I think I got me something here. You know what I mean? And I got me a couple of championships out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, hey, man, he's a basketball. Nah, I'm no basketball coach. I can't sit down here and draw you no play right now. But what I can tell you, I can tell you how you can build your team, though. And it's going to be those principles that I just talked about. I can tell you that if you want to be a good basketball team, you're going to work your ass off. That's what I can tell you. You want to be good at this, you're going to work your ass off. You want to be a good math teacher, you're going to work your ass off. You want to be a good parent, you're going to work your ass off. That's my message with Let's Build.
Yeah.
Right? Once you get that, then you can get these other pieces. And that's the building piece. Because you got to build. Like I said, I went from one stage of reading everything to a stage of, man, I don't care who we playing. What's the team we playing?
Yeah.
Man, they don't know who we got. They're gonna have a hard time with our guys. Yeah. I used to do this, man, because you know the team. I used to calculate Manny, Eric, Gary, and Saul. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be tough enough. And then you got to deal with Ben. Mm-hmm. That gave me comfort. That put me to sleep at night. And the way I worked them, we worked. Yeah, we worked. I saw the vest that I used to use. How heavy that thing was. Those kids was running in that thing. Mm-hmm. The medicine balls that we used. I had the wrong medicine ball. Mm-hmm. That just goes to show you sometimes how when you put that work in the lab, sometimes you can have the wrong equipment. But you compensate because, like, man, that ball's too heavy. Yeah, I know, but that's what we got.
Yeah, right.
So we're gonna make it work.
Yeah,
is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Because you know what? With my coaching knowledge, I don't really know what ball to get. I just know we need a medicine ball. Mm-hmm. First medicine ball I got was too heavy. It was 15 pounds. We used that. Second medicine ball I got was for boxing. It don't bounce. The 15-pound ball is too heavy. It'll destroy the floor. The leather medicine ball doesn't bounce. You know, so people get, in other words, if I go by other people's grades, and hey man, don't you know there's a weighted basketball? Mm. I didn't know that until later. I just knew we need to get stronger. Yeah. That's what I knew. So I did it wrong, but I did something. Yeah. And it wound up working out. And so then I used it to my benefit. Once I learned the type of basketball that I should have had at the beginning, I ain't won. Because the results I was getting from using the wrong basketball, the wrong heavy-weighted basketball. Yeah. Because it served a purpose. Because my guys love to dribble. You can't dribble neither one of these. So guess what? We got to pass. Mm-hmm. That's the only way we're going to get it down there. And quite honestly, man, we dominated. See, when we won, we dominated teams. Because I used to tell my guys, hey, man, the first 3 quarters, we just doing conditioning. We just want to see what kind of shape they in. Yeah. You know, a philosophy that I learned is try to get them to call the first time out. Because that's going to say a lot about what kind of shape they in. And by the time the fourth quarter come, I said, now we're going to play basketball. And when the game was over, it's like, the game is over? Yeah, it's over, man. Because of the lab work. Yeah. See, it's the lab work. That's really my emphasis here. It's the lab work. You putting in the lab work, you putting in the hours, you're going to get what your ability warrants. You will get what your ability warrants. Mm-hmm. I read something the other day that coach said. He said, success sometimes results in winning, but winning doesn't necessarily mean that you're a success. Mm. I'm still wrestling with that one, but I get it. I kind of get it. I just can't put it into words, but you know, use that. Success may result in winning, but winning doesn't necessarily mean you're a success. Right. Because you might be, maybe you're not in the lab. Maybe you lucked up and won, right. And you ain't really worked. You ain't really trained. Think about the times you ain't really trained. And you had a good game. Mm-hmm. You a success? Depending on what grading system you use. Mm-hmm. In my mind, you're not. You lucked up. Yeah. See, when you're a success, you have sustainability.
What? Oh.
You have sustainability when you do it the right way. Yeah. You know, questions I used to ask kids is, are you a failure if you've given it your best effort? That's 1. 2, did you really win with a second-rate effort? Because I can go out there and play a 2-year-old one-on-one and destroy her. Am I really a winner? Right. Because I beat a 2-year-old in basketball?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And is it really going to take much? Right. No. Right. But did I really fail when you're giving it your all to be the best that you can be? And you worry about what somebody else says? Well, my evaluation of you is blah, 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 blah. Man, screw your evaluation. I evaluate myself. I'm going to judge myself by my effort. Mm.
Mm. One of the last things I wanted to talk about was when I was over at the house the last time where we kind of like did like the mock setup, and I was trying to explain a bunch of stuff. When we were talking, I think you were talking about different people's worth or value within like a machine. I don't know if that was like one of the nuts and bolts
value member.
Thing, but I kind of want, if you know what I'm talking about, I kind of wanted you to talk about that, because that was the first time that I've kind of heard you explain it in that form, and I enjoyed it and it made a lot of sense. So I just wanted you to kind of talk about that again.
Well, I think we were kind of talking about what's happening today. You know, you turn on the news and you see the young people killing each other. And there's a lot of reasons why. I think my take, what we were talking about the other day, is I have a feeling or a sense that a lot of young people don't feel as though they are a valued member of something. Something that is greater than them. There's so much individualism going on today that when I'm only thinking of myself, sometimes I forget that I'm linked to something that's greater. But what is that for people? For me, it's family. My faith. Those are two things that I believe are greater than me as an individual. And everybody should be a valued member of something, whether it's a valued member of the family, the community, the school, the team, you know, whatever you're about. And it's not necessarily about your position. But I think what happens is the value of feeling valued, is what I call it. And there's a lot of people out here, man, that don't feel valued. There's a lot of people out here that are doing fairly well at whatever they do for a living or whatever, and they don't feel valued. A lot of people that work don't feel valued at work because of the way leadership is. Because leadership don't have to value you, they pay you. So that's the substitute.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I think when you become a valued member of something, you have to understand what your role is and how executing your role is, your performance in your role is linked to the overall success of whatever you're a member of. In other words, I know for me, the role that I play as a father, husband, grandfather, friend, mentor, counselor is linked to the overall performance of my family and my faith, which is bigger than me. You know what I mean? If I look at my family, there's more family members than me. So this is bigger than me. And the same thing with my faith. I'm a valued member of a family, and I have a role to play, and that role is significant. That role is linked to the success. And I told you the story about. I told you two stories. My favorite is the pit crew in the drag race.
Yeah.
In other words, they just had the NASCAR on, I think a week or so ago, and over the little scroll, you had the winner, one name, so and so won the NASCAR Indy 500, whatever, right? And so if you're not in tune to what being a valued member of a team is, you think that guy did that all by himself. In other words, his name is in the front. He won the race. He drove the car. But when you go to the pit stop, right, and you see the speed, the efficiency of how to change those tires, wipe the windows down, get a guy a drink of water, whatever they got to do inside the car, fuel the bad boy up. Everyone has to do their role to a certain level of efficiency in order for him to win that race or for her to win that race. But it goes back to what I was just telling you about the grading system. The grading system tells us the driver won the race.
Yeah.
The success that I'm talking about is the crew and everybody in it played a role. Because if that guy who changes the back tire don't put that tire on correctly, the driver's going to crash. Right? If the fuel guy spills fuel all over the car, when we take off, the car going to catch on fire because I didn't do that job right. Yeah. So we have to know what our job is. And the other story I told you was the Kobe Bryant story when he talked about the guy who taped his ankles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I tape it too tight, that's going to impact your performance. Kobe go out and score 60. Hey, it's Kobe scores 60. What's the guy with taping the ankles got to do with that? He's a valued member of Kobe's success. His performance in executing that tape job is linked to something that's greater than him. Kobe has to recognize that as well. The Kobes of the world have to recognize that I'm Kobe because of the guy that no one knows, no one has ever seen, knows how to tape my ankle to perfection.
Yeah.
Because if it's too tight, it's going to throw my game off. If it's too loose, it's going to throw my game off. If it's got knots in it, it's going to throw my game off.
Yeah.
But we don't even know about that guy. The guy that won the race, we don't know about the. We don't know who changes the back tire. I don't know his name. Might be a woman. We don't know her name.
Right.
But don't put the tire on right. Don't do the tape job right. And see what happened to the overall performance.
Right.
So I think a lot of times young people don't understand how important their role is because it hasn't been made clear to them what it is by the people who supervise and lead them. So one of the things that I say, all activities with children require supervision and leadership. As a supervisor and as a leader, it's my job to make sure you understand what your role is and how it's connected to the overall performance of our team or of our family. And oftentimes, once you understand, in other words, once I understand that I got the back tire, right? And the overall performance is linked to the success of that, and that success is linked to how we get paid and how we get paid. In other words, it keep going. In other words, the guy that taped the ankle get paid.
Right. Yeah.
And if he don't tape it right, he gonna get fired.
Right.
We're gonna get another guy in there to tape it.
Right.
So you think he ain't pumped up? You think he's not focused and prepared and organized to tape Kobe's ankle the right way to the best of his ability? And as long as his ability warrants to be the tape guy, he's the tape guy. Why? Because Kobe goes out there and scores 60. So he's good for the overall good of the team. Right. So he matters.
Right.
So we have to value him even though we don't know his name. There's people out here, there's young people out here, man, they want to be known, but they don't feel valued. And as teachers, coaches, parents, mentors, counselors, whatever you do to help young people learn, change, and grow, you got to make the young people feel valued. I believe that's one of the reasons why I'm still in contact with some of the people that I worked with when they were 16, 17 years old. Because there's something about how we connect that makes them feel better. Value. You walk out of here, I'm going to walk out of here today, and I hope that you feel like you can do this. You got this. Because why? Because of my credibility. I'm credible. If I say I'm coming, you know I'm coming.
Right. Right.
You know I'm coming. So I know he coming.
Right.
How you know? It's his credibility. I trust him.
Yeah.
I believe him. That's what feeds value. A lot of kids are disappointed because they get told stuff, don't get followed through. You know what I mean? So now they out here shooting each other because of the grading system too. You know, a lot of kids, they shoot each other because of what they read on Instagram. Somebody saying something on, Facebook or whatever. And because my value system is weak and I don't have anybody encouraging me. I don't have anybody telling me that I can do it. I don't have anybody that I can trust that says, hey, man, you ain't doing it right. Do it this way. No one has the courage to tell me to stop. You know, when I look at the young people, I say, man, where are their parents? You know, the guy that shot somebody, because we're turning on the news, the guy that shot somebody tonight was once in diapers. He couldn't talk. What was taking care of him then? Yeah. And through that, like I said, you have to feel like you're a valued member. That's what gets you up in the morning, because you're a part of something. That's why I was able to win those kids over at that place, in that dark place. Those are dark places, man. Those are places no one ever heard of. But there was a belief. There was a belief that I had in them, that they was trying to figure out, why does he believe in us so much? Because you're just a kid like my kid. You got talent like my kid got talent. What's the difference? Hey, man, my kid, we put in the work. All right, so if I sign up for putting in the work, is it going to be different? Yes. Yes. I tell teachers all the time, you got to have confidence in what you do. In other words, if I tell you you're a valued member, I gotta demonstrate that you are of value to the class, to the team, to the group, to the house. But you got kids living with people who don't feel as valued members. You got some moms out here, man, they don't feel like they're valued members of anything. You got dads out here that don't feel like they're valued members of anything that's greater than them. And man, when you don't believe that there's something that's greater than you, wow, you can be a real selfish son of a gun. Because your performance isn't linked to anything that's bigger.
Right.
So now you're out here wilding. Because you feel like, wait, man, don't nobody value me. Why should I value you? Why should I value your life? Nobody value my life. And so it's easy to take a life when there's no value involved. And that's something that we could all get better at. The value of feeling valued. I guarantee you, man, and I don't want to get dark, but like I said, there's a lot of people that go to jobs that don't feel as though they're valued members of that organization because of the way they're treated. They're not treated as if they're valued because maybe they take out the garbage. But let the garbage fill up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let it fill up. And then all of a sudden, the CEO is complaining about how the garbage cans are full.
Yeah.
Oh, so there is value in dumping the garbage. Everyone has value. Everybody's not going to be the driver. Everybody ain't going to be Kobe. But gosh darn, you better tape that ankle right. Or Kobe won't be Kobe. Gosh darn, you better put that tire on right. Or my man going to crash. And then we all be out of a job. Because when we do the investigation, we'll discover that, hey man, the guy who's responsible for the back tire didn't do his job. And a lot of people don't do their job because they don't feel like they're valued. Hey man, I ain't taking the trash out today. Why? Because the guy don't even speak to me. The guy that run the place, he don't even speak.
Right.
Because I'm not on his level.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'm a part of the organization. And see, when people feel valued, that builds morale. When you recognize me for good work, I want to do more good work. So you recognize me some more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I do more good work. It's the same with kids. When you recognize kids for doing work, they want to do more. But when we start to label them and put them in boxes that they can't get out of, then they lose hope. And I think that's what's happening today. I mean, you know, being an older cat, that's what I see. I see a lot of people who are losing hope because they don't feel valued. And they're not connected to anything. So their performance is like, well, you know, so what if I perform well? What does it mean? Who's it really helping? It's just helping me. It's all about me. And it's not. It's not.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, the valued member. Yeah, I remember you talking about that and the Kobe story and definitely the pit stop, and those are some really awesome analogies. You know, it really does like put it in perspective of just the importance of being acknowledged, being recognized. You know, because then you kind of feel like you have you feel like you're like if you don't do your best, then there's people that you're letting down. And I think just as humans, nobody wants to be like the person who's like the weak link. Nobody wants to be the person who's gonna. I don't want it to be my fault that we don't win.
Right.
You know, nobody wants to be that person. So it's almost like a necessary pressure, kind of almost like it's value on one side, but it's also like enough of a push that's gonna kind of keep you, you know, on your job or on your toes and stuff like that.
That guy that won that NASCAR thing, man. His crew, they excited for the next one because they realized that their execution of their job resulted in the win. You know what I mean? And I just think today we need more wins, and wins come with maybe changing the grading system to you know, making age to doing the best that you can. You know, when I was at the wedding the other day, I saw a couple of girls that I worked with a long back, and you one girl is in law school and the other girl's a nurse and the other girl's a teacher. And on my way out, that's all I said to them. I said, I'm encouraged by what you all are trying to do, and whatever it is that you're doing right now, do the best that you can. I think sometimes too, and I know we're about to wrap up, but I think sometimes it's our language that can make a difference. I mean, like, think about it. How many people really encouraging people to do the best that they can and be satisfied with that? Because I believe there's satisfaction when you've done your absolute best.
Right.
When you left no stone unturned.
Right.
But because we live in a society where, when I watch the sports shows and they're comparing, it's comparisons. So we're engulfed by it. So when I hear you say, sometimes it's tough, I get it because you're engulfed. You know what I mean? This social media stuff is a dogfight.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're in a dogfight. You're in a dogfight industry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to have that different type of stance. But I think that's what makes it special, because it's different, because it's not what everybody else is doing. And I don't think it stops you. I think it highlights your uniqueness. You know what I mean? There's only one you. You're unique, one of a kind. That's what you go with. And I'm not trying to disrespect everybody else by saying, hey, man, screw everybody else. No, it's not that easy. But when it gets tough, you just recognize, I'm unique. I'm uniquely made. And I'm special. And I'm one of a kind. And all I got to really do is just give my best effort to be the best I can in learning how to do this. Have I learned everything? No. Did I learn everything in 1987? No. 97? No. 207? No. 2017? No. I don't. And I'm okay with that because I'm open to learning more. Give as much as my brain can absorb, I'm willing to take it all in because I know it's just going to make me better. And the same thing for you. You learn all you can about your industry. Like I said, learn from the greats. What did they do? What were some of their hardships? What are some of their obstacles? What are some of their challenges? How did they get their platform to go up a notch? Right. And then what pieces of information can you use for your journey? Because at the end of the day, you got to be you. And like I said, and that's what makes you special. Because there's only one you. There's only one Jamal David Jackson. Only one.
Right.
And if that ain't good enough for you, then I don't know what to tell you. Right. And that should be good enough for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? and then, the other thing is just the people that you hang around. The people that your circle should also be feeding you that vibe. And you feed them the same vibe. Because that's the circle that you want to be around. When you're around people that don't share the same values, you got to cut them out. Because they're going to hold you back. They're gonna have you focus on the. Yeah, man, but you only got some likes today, so you got to step your game up. So is the game about likes or putting in quality work? And we living in times now, man, where quality work isn't. I just want to get it done. I got to do it done with any quality. That's what a lot of these low performance schools are about. Low performance schools is about the quality of work. You got good people in there, talented people, talented teachers, talented students. But it's low performing for a reason. Because it's hard. What you doing is hard.
Yeah.
And it come with receipts.
Yeah.
And callous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people elevate so quick because of the comparisons, but they won't sustain that. Because callous give you sustainability. You know what I mean? And every sustainable structure has a strong foundation. And your foundation is strong. You just got to stay focused on what you control and what you don't have control over. You don't have control. I don't know enough about it, but I'd be willing to bet you don't have control over the likes and the dislikes.
Nope.
So don't even focus on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You focus on what you had control over.
Yeah.
And that's gaining as much knowledge and experience as you can in what you're trying to produce. And make sure that what you're trying to produce is that of quality and that it helps people. It brings people in, makes people feel good about whatever it is you're talking about. And it brings on good vibes. And people enjoy it for what it is. That will sustain you. You do it for the likes, you'll be hot today, cold tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then just use your intelligence. You know, there's a lot of emotionalism out here too. And that creates peaks and valleys, ups and downs. You want to be consistent with something, it's about effort and an intensity of your intellect. And that's something that we have control over. And that's where you put your energy in. That's the grading system. That's the grading system for me. People might look at this as, hey, man, God, hey, man, listen. You ask me a question, I answer to the best of my ability. You know what I'm saying? And then we go from there. I'm going to go home. You know what I mean? I'm going to go home and have a cold beer and lay down and feel all right. You know, because it's not about this.
Yeah.
This is just another opportunity for you and I to get together. See, that's more important. You know, whatever this results in, I don't have control over that. You don't either. But you look like you got everything set up right and how it's supposed to be, and we did it.
Yeah.
If we did it wrong, so what? We did it.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't argue with that. You know, it's just like the baseball journey. You know what I mean? People want to focus on the results of the baseball. You got way more out of it than that, though.
Mm-hmm.
You got way more out of it than that. So, you know what I mean? So you gained.
Yeah.
You gained. And just your life experiences. So, you know, for me, Let's Build is about, some time that I dedicated working with young people, but it's more about my life, though. You know what I mean? I worked for 32 years. I've been living for almost 60 years. So I combine both. You know what I mean? Because I'm specially made. And I got gifts, just like you. We're gifted. and we don't have to apologize for that. We just got to work our asses off and make the most out of what gifts we've been given. And if you can go to bed thinking that you did that, you're in there. Like I said, to me, you're already successful because of what you've already done, what you've already committed to, your level of commitment, the solidarity, the work that you put in, the knowledge that you're gaining. I remember when you first started. When you and Chaz came over, you had some little thing you pulled out your pocket. You was like, you doing this?
Yep.
Yeah, you showed me little video clips and whatnot, man. So, you know, you've done a lot of different things because that's how it evolves. This might not be the thing. This might just be part of the training for the thing that's getting ready to happen.
Yeah.
So you also got to look at it that way too. Everything that you've been through is somewhat training for the real thing. And this might be it. In other words, I'm doing some writing and doing some video that might be training for that's going to turn into something else.
Yeah.
You know, and it might not be anything. It might, because I just want to do it just to keep my mind busy, to keep doing something. I put it in already. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you ask about the retirement. Sometimes I feel guilty about relaxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I heard a piece T.D. Jakes said the other day, was talking about, you know, what's rightfully yours, rightfully mine. And it is. Sometimes I feel guilty about the house. I didn't earn it. I didn't do anything to get that. So where's that coming from? You know, so you think about some of the things that you have that you didn't really do anything to deserve or earn, but you got them anyway. That's the greater good. That means there's something greater than me. Because I didn't do anything to earn that house. My parents had to die. That ain't me doing anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's about the heart. But I deserve to be out there. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be out there.
Right. All right.
You feel me?
Right.
You know, and you deserve to be doing this right now. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't be doing it. But again, it depends on how strong your faith is and what you believe in. And do you believe that doing this is part of a greater good? And if you do, then do the best that you can. And then when it's over, at least you'll be able to say that. And you'll be able to hold your head up high. And damn what the people say.
I want to end it there with damn what the people say, man. Forget what the people say. No, I can't disagree with anything that you said there. You know, easier said than done, but I think the being done is the right way to go about it, the right way to look at it. You know, the right attitude to have about it, just to really, if nothing else, just to keep the mind clear and keep the path clear to continue to just, keep going forward and keep pushing, keep trucking basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't disagree at all. And this was awesome. I'm glad we finally got a chance to to really sit down and do it officially and everything like this. I know the people I know it's not about what the people are going to feel like, but I'm pretty sure that the people who do watch it, I think that they're really going to enjoy it. I enjoyed it, just kind of sitting here, talking.
Yeah,
and like that.
It's fun, man. This is. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know I didn't know what to expect. But like you said, when I asked, should I bring anything, you said just yourself.
Yeah.
So that that's it.
Yeah, and this is just kind of a taste of, I guess, what I do. When I am traveling around, going to different cities and trying to schedule, conversations and dialogue and stuff like that. Just to talk about different stuff. Because I think what I'm speaking of, like the greater good, what I really would like to happen is for the people whoever does view the different types of conversations that I have, my hope is that people relate, and that it can resonate with people, inspire people, motivate, make people think, maybe make people change their thinking, make people, change their attitude about some stuff. Just all of the above. I just hope it touches people in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because you and I specifically, we talked about a lot of stuff, and I think the people how you were talking about, there are a lot of people who don't have a relationship with their father. I think that will, like some people who don't have a relationship with their father, but they have children. I think those people will get something from this. Or people who do have their father in their life, but maybe they don't speak as often as they would like, or maybe they don't have the relationship that they would like to have, or maybe people who are about to have children and they might need like a little bit of not necessarily motivation, but just maybe they're super anxious about it or scared of, just it could come from any angle. You know what I mean? Where I think the conversations that I try to have with people will help other people who are watching it or who are listening to it.
Yeah, this is insightful, and you generate a lot of different perspective. Yeah. I mean, we always get motivated and a little inspired when we talk. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you motivate me and inspire me to whatever it is that I'm doing. I gotta do what I said everybody should be doing. You know what I mean? So now I gotta get out there and make sure I'm doing the best that I can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And make sure that my performance is linked to something that's bigger than me.
Right.
So this was an opportunity to share that and sit down and talk with you. And I think it's great what you're doing, even though I don't know all the ins and outs about it. But I know you take it seriously. And you seem very enthusiastic about it, which I know is a quality that you have to be successful. And I'm feeling pretty proud now to come down here and have this conversation, and hopefully it helps. Anyone, like you said, anybody that's willing to listen. If it's an aid to one person, then it's successful. If you can give one person some insight and some perspective on how to just be a better person, because at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. It's just, different things that you can grab onto, hold on to, that'll make you a better person. Because if you're a better person, then that's probably going to impact somebody else. You being better impacts another person, impacts the people that you're with, impacts the young lady over there. You know what I mean? I don't know the young lady over there, but I hope I impacted her a little bit. And at least when I walk out, she goes, "Oh man, that thing he said, oh, that was pretty cool. Oh wow, I never thought of it." Right. You know what I mean? And I think if you generate that, then it's cool. Right. Then that's what you want to do. So this has been great, man. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Indeed. All right, so we about to get out of here. If you just want to, I know you don't have social media, but if you just want to remind them again. You know what your program is going to be called and everything. At least just kind of give them a teaser before we get out.
Yeah,
of here.
I mean, look out for Let's Build. Again, it's a collection of stories and lessons and observations of my life and time dedicated to helping young people learn, change, and grow. And it doesn't matter what hat you wear, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, a dean, a teacher, a counselor, a coach, or if you're someone that runs an after-school program. I think there's some lessons in it for everyone in terms of how to help young people reach their full potential. And it's a team effort. Different successes that I've had with young people, with you, I did not do by myself. You know what I mean? I mean, I always look to your mom as, you know, as the one that did the heavy lifting. You know, I got called off the bench.
Right.
You know, but I was always ready.
Right.
You know, and then, you know, I think that could be good for people who might have a similar situation as we did. You know what I mean? Because our situation is different. Everyone's situation is unique. I think that's what Let's Build is about. It's positive. It's about helpful. It's about being encouraged. And it's about letting people know that they're not alone. And yet we have our all unique situations. We're unique in how we interact with one another. And like I said, some of us are tall, some of us are short, some of us are light, some of us are dark. And we're different that way. But the one thing that we all have in common is making the most out of our abilities. And I believe that. Everyone has ability. If you make the most out of it, I think you'll be satisfied with the outcomes.
Gotcha. All right. We are done. I'm Jaxon 1616, Jaxon 1616. Of course, is the Instagram, one Mike Stand, the word one _ Mike _ Stand _ This is on the Patreon, of course. So if you watch to the end, thank you for supporting. Thank you for subscribing. And don't take the link and send it to someone, but actually tell those someones to subscribe themselves so I can eat more than one meal a day. I'm trying to get to 1,000. We got about 900 more people to go, but we're going to get there even if it takes us a couple of years to do it. Philly, I'm out. Thank you. This was fun. This was awesome. This was great. And I'm exhausted, so I'm about to really sleep really great right now. But yeah, one Mike Stand. We out. And we're done.
All right, man. That was deep, man. I feel like I was on